whether to acculturate the tribals or whether to assimilate the tribals. Okay. So he came out with a policy that let us integrate the tribals, do not disturb, do not assimilate them in the larger culture, and neither or nor isolate them as a museum pieces. So as the national consensus came out for integrating the tribals, and that dictated the policy for education of the tribal communities in India. The early 60s brought in the concept of three-language formula particularly for tribals, that they would be given instructions in their local dialects. I am using the word dialect because I am distinguished between language and dialect. Dialect doesn't have a script of its own, whereas the language has a script. So they will be taught from the classes 1 to 3 in their dialect, and then they will switch to state language with the script of the state. And after class 5, they will also have national language. But this ran into trouble when three-language formula was implemented, the state-wise. Then people started having something combinations like Hindi and Sanskrit and maybe Urdu or Tamil or whatever it is. So this was the problem, and the tribals were confined to being a very small proportion in Indian population, 8% only, that too divided into 1,100 dialects. And that's a very small population. In terms of political influence, they were nowhere in that sense. So the whole thing boiled down to the situation that sporadically in different places, different things were happening. I remember when I was with the NCRT, I ventured upon preparing the primers in Santali. The dilemma at that time was what script would be taken, whether it would be Devanagari script, that is the base of Hindi, or whether it will be the Christian missions pressed for Roman script, language being Santali. And Santhal Parganas, as you know, is adjacent to Bengal, and quite a good number of Santals are living in Bengal. They wanted Bengali script. So these are the kinds of dilemma that policy issues were involved in that. So, however, I wanted to develop it in Devanagari with Santhali script. So what we did in those years of 1965, 66, we didn't have gadgets like the modern gadgets like mobile like today. So we had the only gadget that we had was a tape recorder, a big tape recorder, quite bulky one. I used to take it to remote villages in Santhal Pargana and play it, let it record whatever these small children, wherever they were playing, I used to record their conversation. Come back to NCRT, decipher all these words, spoken words, write into Devanagari script, and see lexically which one is easier and which one is difficult as far as writing component, lexical component is concerned. So then grading and then frequency of the words spoken. So the known vocabulary and understandable vocabulary of the child was mapped and the primer were made. So that is the kind of, but I must tell you that this was quite a cumbersome process. The writing a primer took us about 2 to 3 years because we had to do all these kinds of exercises, collecting vocabulary, classifying, then seeing lexically which is easier, which is, and then frequency. So all kinds of things. So what I'm trying to say is that introducing primers even primers in languages, native languages of the tribes, where if it is followed in a philological manner, then it is quite difficult and time-taking, and the people don't have patience for that kind of thing. Then, coming to another aspect, the policy having been decided that we will integrate these people, that is, we will retain, the government will not try to influence the culture of the people, but they will be part of the total population of the country, and therefore, if this policy is still in vogue. I remember one. I think it is proper here at this moment to share with you. When I was doing my PhD in early 64, in 63, 64, I interviewed a Oraon person, and I said, why are you not sending your child to the school? And he said that I had sent my eldest child to the school, and after doing his class 5, he started hating the indigenous way of life, and he shifted to Ranchi because the values that he acquired through education was alien to his own culture. So when he shifted to Ranchi, he couldn't find a job, and he is pulling rickshaw, and he comes after every month and takes away 1 mond of paddy from me so that he can sustain there in the city. Now, this was in the year 1964. In the year 1977, I was studying the Tlingit Indians of Alaska in USA, and there too, I visited a village, and the so-called quote-unquote mayor of the village, I was interviewing, and I said, what do you think about education of your children? And he said, look here, the education that we get alienates our children from us. And my children who have got education have migrated to lower 48, that is the 48 states of the mainland USA. And I am here in this small village of 2,000 people. So this migration from the local village to urban centers or the places where so-called amenities are there is a byproduct of education. That was what it was. And I tried to compare the notes of 1964 interview in Ranchi district and 1977 interview in Alaska. And I found quite a bit of commonality in that. So you see, the education per se should be for development from within the overall culture. But somehow or the other, the content and processes of education are alienating. And it is not only true with the tribals, now even with the rural population of India. As soon as somebody gets the graduation, he migrates to the city. So migration is a concomitant effect of tribal education. Sir, I'm coming to
please.
I'm coming to next point, and that is medium of instruction, mother tongue. As I told you, already told you,
Sorry,
Pardon?
you have exhausted your time. You have, I think, last 1 or 2 minutes. You have to conclude.
Okay, sir. Okay. So now the national policy on education has reiterated that all education, even higher education, would be given in the mother tongue of the people. So I think this is a vindication of what was earlier envisaged and a move in that direction. So national policy of education is, although tribal languages are still to have to find a place in this schema of things, but it certainly is moving that way. And you see MBBS and medical engineering education is being the medium is being shifted to the state languages. So I have a hope that the potentials of the tribal population, tribal people, would bloom with the passage of time and with the kind of reiteration in national policy of education, of which I had been sort of informally consulted on these occasions. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for positive note. So now, you are
Shall I use the mic?
Oh.
You don't know after Please introduce yourself.
Okay. No. For Raja, actually.
Yeah. This is
exclusively
for
I am. So, Dr. Joydeep Sengupta is assistant professor of anthropology in Sydney University, and his colleague actually.
And there are
So, may I introduce you with Raja?
Yeah, during the tea break.
Huh?
Because during the tea.
And Dr. Sengupta is very brilliant. He will finish in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, by saying that you have saved me, because I have nothing much to say also. And it has also been a very long association with the IBRAT. I think it's audible. Is it audible?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes.
It's a long association with the IBRAT, and coming to this office is always a homecoming for me. And now with these words, this has been the sessions has been on the sustainable tribal development, and this is the policy discussions on which the professors have engaged themselves, and I hope they have picked up different dimensions. I would like to contribute a bit on the health, but before that, just as you have all known, it's almost a reiteration in that sense that we have looked the tribes in India, or the tribal studies in India has always been from the Western perspective. This is nothing new. This has been said in the anthropological seminars for years together, for decades together. So there's nothing new. But N.K. Bose, I would like to remind of the N.K. Bose in his one lecture, which he later published in the book during the 50 years completion of the Department of Anthropology in the Calcutta University. He wrote one book which he put it as an introductory chapter, and there he identified two important problems of tribal studies in India. Unfortunately, those has never not been addressed even today. One is that tribes in India are characterized with some of the features, but in isolation with the other people or with the other context in which they live. When we say, he specifically said with an example of Birhor, for instance, they said that XYZ is the characteristics, but in isolation of the context in which the Birhors are situated with the other caste people. So the characterization of the tribes is a problematic in our India even today. So because this is a culture flows forever, and the changes, the attributes change, the traits change, everything changes. So how we define the tribe is problematic even today, and we are actually grasping of how to define. And had I taken this opportunity as a full-fledged lecture, I would like to put the title as How Long the Tribes in India Would Be Invisible, because we are making ourselves making them very pushing them to oblivion, pushing them their features, their characteristics. Almost we are ignoring them, undermining them. So this is one of the problems of looking the tribes from the Western perspective, because our methodologies are determined that they are savage, they are barbaric, they need to be developed, and the development criteria, unfortunately, are still on the Western parameters for say. The second problem that N.K. Bose has highlighted, which is very pertinent to me also, that these tribe people, if you ask them that how do they associate themselves or how do they look the worldview, they have always tried to associate with them with the upper caste Hindu people, because they have looked. But how is the relation with the other downcast people? What is their hierarchy? What is their type of dynamics that is working with the other tribal people, with the other people whom they look downwards too? So it's not that they are oppressed only, they also are engaged into the oppression also. So these type of things are having at every level, which needs to be addressed. So these are the two issues that N.K. Bose has identified, and which left to the applied anthropologists to address. Now there are different aspects. The one, of course, is the health. Now, for health, the lecture or the session on tribal health, health as a heritage, health as a culture of in the tribal, can go on and on for the seminar. But for the purpose of the policy recommendation so far is addressed. One is that we have undermined. Now coming to the one, I want to share one snippet, very short snippet, is that when I was working for a short time period or with the NRHM, that's the National Rural Health Mission, the mission director once said to me in one of the meetings that said, say, when we fix the target that our healthy birth or institutional birth delivery should be 100%, should be 98%. These are the targets, very ambitious target that we set. But we have never looked on what 2% whom we are compromising with. Why can't we set it as 100%? Why are we setting as 98? There's something that is working in our mind also, to which we are oblivion of. So who are these 2%? And this 2% needs at the minority groups. They can be the Muslim groups, they can be the religious minorities groups, and of course the indigenous people, the tribal people, they too can constitute of the 2% who perennially constitute to be the vulnerable population. So we can increase this institutional birth delivery from 95 to 96 to 98, but 2% will always remain excluded from our policy discussions. And these 2% are unfortunately our tribal, whom we have considered that this is our limitation, we can never reach them. That limitations need to be addressed firstly. Now, how can we address them? The thing is that we have continuously clinicalized, the term that has been very used, we have clinicalized our health policies. So much so that we have replaced our traditional birth attendants, our barefoot doctors, with the Chinese has all cherished upon, has been compromised in our Indian context. We have replaced with our only the, and of very late, this Ayush program has come. And that too also shows that Ayush itself is a very dominant Indic culture, but they never talk about the tribal heritage as such. So Ayush itself has its own politics of downsizing and sidelining the tribal culture, the folk medicine, and various things. So having said so, these policy discussions need to address who are these vulnerable groups, who are perennially going backwards, how can we trace their bring themselves into the health dialects. And to a surprise, I can share another very important and my personal experience. I was working on a very short on a very minor project on the chronic pain. how do you define chronic pain? Now, defining a chronic pain, the symptoms, and how do you graduate a chronic pain, the different expressions of chronic pain is still a very difficult task in the medical literature. They are striving very hard as how to describe your, how to describe or how to clinically codify the expressions of chronic pain. Now, that has been a perennial, a Herculean task for Arthur Klinsmann, who himself was a physician and an ethical anthropologist, and then he was seeing how difficult these expressions are. Now, I have worked with with the Lodha community. The student has gone, the scholars has gone, and brought out the beautiful expressions of chronic pain to show which pain is corresponding to which body sites, to which this clinical literature is oblivious of. So these expressions can contribute hugely to the tribal expressions, tribal health care reporting, which we need to take care of. And this is why we need to have an indigenous methodology of in the health literature, of course, I'm not talking about other dimensions, as how to make their health status known. With the last point, I would now these type of incidents can go on, or the snippets can go on and on. We have then the corona, how they tackle this corona phase with their own indigenous knowledge of body touching, and while we have banned the social distancing and these sorts, how could they overcome this crisis together? So these snippet sharing can go and can contribute to the health policy discussion also. Lastly, I would like to conclude, my 5 minutes are over almost, is that the last world, the very recent report by Protiji Trust, the living world of the Adivashis in West Bengal, that
how you take care of
tells
your
of a very
mother.
sorry state of the health of the tribal people of the Adivashis in West Bengal. But having said so, Amartya Sen has relied on the Human Development Index. Human Development Index, which we have agreed upon, the Human Development Index as one of the criteria to measure the development, has 3 features, one being the health. Unfortunately, what this HDI report does not take into account, and known to almost everybody, that these values like the health, the education, and the living standards are trade-off, can be traded off, because you can spend maximum number of money on your livelihood issues, and you can compromise with the health, but your Human Development Index will also show the result. The result will be the same. That is one of the limitations of the Human Development Index. The values are interchangeably can be traded off. This is one of the very limitations for which we are now thinking of the multiple dimensions of poverty, and other being the subjective well-being, because what is bad to even to the Human Development Index might be very good to us. So that's the subjective well-being, which we need to think in the tribal studies methodology, need incorporate these things in the tribal methodology. What Sen has regrettably overlooked is the art and aesthetics, the aesthetics that drive them, the joy, the mental, the psychological aspect. It's not only the human, it's not only the living standard, it's not only the birth expectancy we are only talking about. When we think of the tribal health, we need to think about these things, because health and health almost comes very close to the healthcare, comes very close to the tribal heritage also. So having said so, this thing, and just one short, this does not come to the health, but any remotely related, is that if you look as how we treat the tribal, if you look at one of the down-to-earth reportings in 2020, it shows that of the total convicts in jail right now, 13% are belong to the tribal group, because they do not have their money resource to fight or to counter these litigations, and 10% of them are under trial, and 3% are behind the bars forever for maybe the minor of the crime. We don't know for what they are. So this is how we are still criminalizing the tribe. We are still criminalizing them, and God knows in the jail, when you put together with other convicts, are we taking care? Are we sensitive to their indigeneity? Are we are giving them the same treatment as like others? jail being almost the 13% means it's more than the national average of 8.6% tribal population. So jail itself represent a huge tribal population. Yet jail foods, our jail prison healthcare treatment are very tribal specific. We don't know. Let's think about this in the health policy discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you.
It's a very impromptu. I have
Thank
never.
you all. Sir, I think there is no scope for question and answer session or. Okay, so they are allowing.
Yeah.
So now it's open. You can have question.
Yes, as an organizer, it's the last part of our year. So for materials will conclude
Okay. So
as per the chairman's decision, and then we'll have a vote of thanks on the topic. Yeah.
by actually 4:30 we can go.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Any comments?
Some quick and a specific question, not so long question. Yeah, please.
Nobody has anything?
Otherwise
If there is not any
looks
question,
like
I
a
will
dull.
have one comment.
Yes.
If there is no question,
And
we are
yeah,
ready for the
some
question.
question.
If there is no question, I will have just one comment. See, policy recommendation, as I understand, depends on what are the problems. All of you have mentioned, including my young friend, Dr. Shuman Chakravarti, all of you, Paramita, Gaurishankar, Yadi, issues, some problem, either health or disaster or an economy, health related different parameters. So my observation that when we raise a question, say in the Birhor, and we want a policy recommendation, people are facing the problem, academicians are documenting the problem, noting it, right? Jadid, any other thing? You, me, all who are raising policy issues have found some problem at different places, documented it with evidence. Isn't it, Suman? Maybe on climate, Java. But when we raise a problem, did we ever see the problem of the implementing agency, how it will be implemented? Why it is not implemented? The third thing about the policy maker who will accept it. Gaurishankar has used number of words for the policy makers. I am not using these words for the policy maker.
So let's
Now, now, why they are not accepting it? Suppose he said they are not accepting for their reason. So how you will make them accept? So if we cannot make them accept the policy maker, if we do not understand the implementing agency, what are his problems, if we do not understand how varieties are there as the problem, our recommendation, who is going to accept if the policy makers are not going to accept? So, until all three are taken into consideration, we will again keep on talking years after year, and the problem will be there. So, I think for any problem, we need to understand the implementing agency first. We have to work with them. We have to also see how it is influenced. That means influencing the policymaker is also a strategy. So if these three things are not there, we will keep on talking and raising issues year after year. This is my feeling, and that's why I expressed that. The solution lies in 4 levels, including us. Yeah, Chairman sir, conclude.
No, no.
I have
Yes, please.
comment to add,
Please.
if time permits. The thing is,
But
there is-
be very brief.
yeah, 1 minute. There's a huge gulf between the policy making body and the suffering people. The problem, people with whom suffering. So identifying the problem and building the voice on behalf of the people who suffer the problem, and providing the leadership, and helping the people to own the leadership, and using the media, social media, and then these are the days where ministers and on the spot they respond on Twitter because they are pressurized, otherwise their rating will go down, because kind of thing. So educated community, it's a social responsibility to study the specific problem, and to make it viral, so that people, the policy making bodies are pressurized, lobbied, and that kind of intentional efforts are initiated on this platform. World Applied Anthropology Congress is with that intention only. We specifically want to identify the problems, and who are the anthropologists across the countries. What are the solutions they offer? How do they work with the policy making body, implementing bodies, and evaluating bodies? And what is the outcome? What are the success stories? What are the documentation levels? And we want to learn from each other from different parts of the world, and the scattered success stories across the globe. We want to pull down together and get exposure so that we can learn from each other. It is not the Western or Eastern models, it is the human model. So which want to problem solving methods, what are the effective and efficient. That's what we are looking for. I request all of you to come forward and contribute your intellectual and also problem solving. What are the solutions that you offer? What are the problems? What are the people? It's a solution they themselves looking for. This is the kind of solution we want. If a person is suffering, a community or family is suffering with a specific problem, if you ask them, what are the solutions that you see? So people's solutions and intellectual solutions, and coming together, building the voice, and making it viral, maybe one of this kind. Thank you.
Any others? No?
No.
Okay, so thank you. I think we are in time. So thank you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 presenter. And coincidentally, all the papers are related with the tribal communities. The last 3 more specifically by their title also, and the first 2 that was some sort of study on different tribal population. And again, coincidentally, the last 3's conclusion is the tribal specific, but the first 2's conclusion is not tribal specific, but maybe used for tribal population also. So we have started with Dr. Paramita's paper that was on health, and we have concluded the session with Dr. Joydis, which is also on health aspect. So we are actually studying more on worrying about the health aspect of tribal peoples more. So the first thing the Paramita identified, and maybe we can have some policy document from her research that where actually anthropologist or social scientist is studying in respect of the policy research, whether our voice is acknowledged by the policy makers or not. So I think we have a rich history in these aspect. Someone already, I think Professor Nag pointed out about Varier Elwin's, I think, yes. And obviously in recent times also, we know that the name of Professor Andre Vete. So all these 2 people and many other anthropologists or sociologists or social anthropologists, they argued a lot, and their opinion already included in different national policies, different aspects. So the second one, I think it was Suman's paper. Regarding Suman's, the policy implemented or changed during this time. And in some cases, people are not aware about that implementation or changing policies. So that should be taken care. Dr. Nag, in his tribal development paper, he has studied a lot from the Ellis perspective to politicization to our own the cultural aspect, that means own anthropological cultural aspect. And he mostly concentrated to understand or to hear quote unquote their view. So that's actually important thing I should take note. And the fourth one, Professor Amvast, if I
Yes.
correct, okay. He concentrated more on tribal education, and his point of view is that known and understandable vocabulary of children should be introduced. And for the last, Dr. Joydeep, inclusion of all tribal in health policy should be there because he already told us that if there is a 2% less in any policy, that 2% means for either religious community or tribal community. So by this way, all the policy makers should think that there should be 100%, and there will be no such quote unquote 2%. And he again raised many of the points, so that I think should be taken care. So thank you again for all the speakers and all the participants who raised different issues and were there in the room and obviously in online. So thanks all. And thanks to the organizer for conducting such a nice session with such a powerful participant. Limited but powerful participant. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Now the last part is there.
So, so we have come almost to the end of the 2 days pre-Congress. And first, let me have the opportunity to thank Professor Shubhi বিশ্বাস for so nicely conducting the session, panel discussion session. It has been a pleasure, sir, to have you with us today. And I, as part of IBRAD, I have some point in my mind, like during the course of discussion, many of you have raised, flagged so many thought-provoking issues and points. In IBRAD, we are having a network of the professionals. It is an international network. We call it SERIN, Socio-Ecological Research, International Research Network, where we are having participants from more than 12 countries. The professionals engaged specifically in the area of issues related to ecosystem related services related research, biodiversity conservation, and tribal development related issues. So I invite all of you to be part of that network. We organize periodic webinars and also a kind of discourses from time to time. So I will share with you the link and invite you to be part of the network so that we can carry it forward, this discussions that is initiated. Another is that we have introduced and we have started a series of thematic policy discussion issues. So we have started with tribal health policy issues, research issues. So again, I'll invite our esteemed speakers, panelists over here to join. And there we can have a focused discussion on thematic areas like health, education, livelihood, gender, and others. So this is my invitation from our side to all the participants to join us. And regarding this policy research issues, we at IBRAD, we not only have a kind of a detailed analysis of the policies that are having direct impact on the tribal communities, on their overall development, on their overall livelihood, and their whole gamut of their life. But along with that research, identification of the research policy requirements, needs, modifications, we also have certain interventions on how it can be, what kind of changes it would have more effective way of its impact on the people. So having some evidence-based case studies. So along with the identification of the needs, the requirements for modifications, what could be the solutions, the evidence-based cases, and all the like worldwide people are having this focus is on having this science policy connect through this evidence-based research. So again, this is the third domain where we invite you to be part of our team if you are willing to. So with this, once again, I thank you all for being with us for these 2 days, for your contribution, for your inputs. It has certainly enriched, and I believe all of us will be going back with some food for thought in our mind. So with this, I thank you all, and may I request Professor Gade to kindly propose the vote of thanks on behalf of AAA. No, you come this side because it is online. Please sit here.
As a co-organizer of the pre-congress.
First of all, I apologize. I missed the whole majority of the day, so I was stuck somewhere else. So, yeah, I'm thankful to Professor S.B. Roy sir for organizing such a wonderful pre-congress related to World Applied Anthropology Congress. I am the General Secretary for Anthropological Association for Humankind. This is 2 years old. Recently, on February 27th, we celebrated 2nd anniversary. And in our objectives, we have one objective called Biennial World Applied Anthropology Congress. So this will be our first Biennial World Applied Anthropology Congress, which is scheduled to happen from May 31st to June 3rd at the University of Kansas, in collaboration with the Department of Anthropology and the Institute for Policy and Social Research, which these two come from University of Kansas, the University of Texas A&M University, and University of South Florida, and locally Andhra University, Department of Anthropology, Andhra University, and Anthropology India Foundation, Anthropos India Foundation, and Indian Institute of Biosocial Research and Development. So IBROD. So IBROD, of all the collaborating institutes, American Corner is also one of our collaborators. IBROD came forward to organize and invest whatever the money required to organize this whole 2-day event. IBROD came forward, particularly the initiative was taken by Professor S.P. Roy. I'm thankful to you, sir. Thank you so much. Because ours is a budding small organization. We have a handful of governing council members and advisory members, and a newly registered organization with ambitious plans, building a worldwide platform for applied anthropology. and where country experiences, success stories can be heard and learn from each other. So the movement began from here. Thank you so much. So you have brought the learned friends and professors and young scholars and from different disciplinary background, interdisciplinary dialogue and transdisciplinary collective vision and casting the vision to come up with the solution, identifying the problems and come up with solutions and working with the policy making bodies. This entire vision is very heart captivating. So thank you for sharing our vision, and it's good that already you are doing in some ecological and tribal development issues related. And we want to bring every human problem to be discussed, and anthropologists, they study whole anthropologists study humans holistically, comparatively, and empirically, and they have many things to share. As Professor S.B. Roy sir rightly mentioned, all these things are documented and preserved in the libraries. Some of them are unpublished. So for the degree sake, for the employment sake, the books are published, but there is a troubling gap existing between the policy making bodies and this research finding and documentation. So to build that bridge, that gap, to eliminate that gap, so this kind of initiatives are taken. So we are taken up this massive task. I request all of you to be part of this vision and do your part to do something good, something great for our fellow humans. Anthropology is the only, if I'm not rude, but I want to make one statement. Anthropology is the only discipline that studies the whole total being of human beings. All other subjects are sectarian. They bring sectarian view and perspectives. But whereas anthropology brings the comprehensive picture of the total being, total humanity, that is under comparison from different cultures. The same problem, how it is dealt with one culture, the other part of the globe, how they are dealing with it, what are the solution method. And the comparison brings beautiful insights. And out of that, we can do great things. But applications in India, applied anthropology framework, this is the first platform coming up and having a global vision. So I request you all to be active partners in the National Applied Anthropology Congress, in the Biennial Applied Anthropology Congress, in both congresses, and your intentional contributions will make real differences. So kindly partner with us. And I'm thankful to, once again, I'm thankful to each and every author and participant who has contributed their wisdom and shared their understanding and deeper insights and their lamentation. No? They have lamented. The others, they brought their pain. These are the areas where I feel responsible or painful. So let us look at it. Like for example, just the last speaker, he was telling about the people who are behind the bars and no bails for them. Nobody is there to argue for them because they are poor. Nobody cares. That's very heart-touching. So like that, there are many problems so let us search for the problems of humans and let us investigate systematically on those causes of the problem and contributing factors for the problem, why the problem is still sustainable. If we are talking about sustainable development, let us begin with sustainable problems. What are the problems? For example, corruption is sustainable in the country. Sustainable corruption. Why it is sustainable? It is going on perpetuated. Why the caste system, the social stigmas are still sustained? And why we are so dull and dim and not able to respond? No, I'm not saying everybody, but there are some responses, positive. Let us build the journey powerful from the human beings to being human. This major shift, we all should partner together and come up with this noble vision so that everybody can take the ownership and leadership so that what humans are capable of becoming and contributing to the most respectful, responsible, peaceful social coexistence and so that every human can grab the fruits of development and enjoy richly, so that everybody can live comfortable with each other. So that is the kind of the nations, that is the kind of cultures, that is the kind of the world we want to build. So it is on our shoulder, because we are talking about sustainable development, sustainable future, sustainable families, sustainable friendships, sustainable not only economy, not only ecology, sustainable ecology. Every sphere of human activity and experience and expectations. So we need to think about and open our eyes, look around, find out the problems, document on the problem systematically, and so that they post it on the social media. And for example, in Hyderabad, if we post on some problem on social media, ministers will immediately respond and call the local people to respond and supply. Social media is such a powerful, within no time they will report the problem is solved. So that kind of powerful social media tools we have, but we researchers, it's our time to dominate the social media with the finding of the problem, the causes of the problem, solutions needed, and the tracking the solution, and how far they're effective and efficient kind of. So then we can dream of sustainable development. We are let us begin with the sustainable problems. What are the sustainable problems that sustain in the country? Let us begin with in our families, in our personal lives. For example, me, the attitudinal problems, no, emotional problems, and how these psychologists, sociologists, anthropologists, economists, political scientists, all these people are coming together, and chemical balance, the chemists, and all the disciplines have to say something about such a particular problem. So this is the kind of wonderful platform, IPROD and the AAFH, and these are the platforms looking for human resources and collaboration, so volunteers and internships, and we look forward so that you people, you can share this message about the platforms that are intentionally created to build the troubling gaps and gulfs between policy-making bodies and problem-solving bodies and people suffering with problems. So we want to set a bridge and highway so that the problems are solved very fast. And because it's our moral and social responsibility, and because we are human beings, and we are thinking like this. So share with your students and make them cast this vision. And I'm thankful to each other who did their part in this two-day conference. And kindly, I have a humble request to all of you. Please send the full papers where your whole heart, your intentions, and your solutions, everything is documented in your paper, your vision and possible solutions. So those full papers we are going to publish as a proceedings, as the outcome. No, we don't want to leave this discussion to the air. We want to make it a historical reference document. And the journey began. And in May, in the first week of June, we have World Applied Anthropology Congress to happen. And I invite you all. And we have a special grant for only scholars. Venergan Foundation, which is for anthropology, the US-based organization, which helps students for their travel. If their papers are selected, and they have only for students, some from India, very small grant, 3 people from Nigeria, 1 or some other country. So we have 9 people, small grant available for 9 people to travel to US, taking care of their needs. It is only for scholars. So yeah, so let us use of it. The brilliant scholars, young scholars coming up, and they have a vision to cast, and they want to share with the world. This is the platform, small in a mustard seed level, in a beginning stage, paved the way.
Daniel,
Let us come together and share.
check that
Push the
for
matter
me.
forward, make it stronger, and do our part. And please take the leadership in your areas, and in this area abroad. I really appreciate, and I'm humbled. And even though I'm in age factor, in experience factor, in the age of the organization, in everything we are nothing before. Professor S. B. Roy sir has understood the vision, and he told voluntarily, I will take care of the financial needs and organizing people. Within short note, he invited this much gathering. That means he has, I understand the trust he maintains and punctuality I observe, and everything is systematically organized. And I respect that. Thank you so much. On behalf of Anthropology Association for Humankind, we are grateful to you, sir. And I want to invite our president to say one word. Yeah. So we look forward for much more partnerships in everything. So please share with us whatever you want, and our network will join us.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, please.
Once again,
As he announced, I just must repeat, some of the scholars are invited to US scholars. And this whole program is arranged by Ibrat and contribution of the staff. No financial assistance.
that's what I'm.
So people should not misunderstand.
Yes,
I told you the morning.
So once again,
Yeah,
I'm clarifying.
yeah,
This 2 days is not entirely bound by the.
yeah. This is here.
Under the leadership.
I told. Yes, I told.
We got major, that is
Yeah.
9 scholars
Yeah.
throughout the world, 3 from India, 3 from Nigeria, and 1 from Mexico. And that's why we have the committee has decided to give different countries depending upon the number of abstracts we have received. So 3, I think we hopefully we are allotting 3 to India. And if your abstract selected, there is a committee, it selects your abstract. Maybe I'm one of the members, and he may be also. But the thing is, it should be a very excellent one, that abstract, and don't misunderstanding about this financing. Once again, I am clarifying, and it's not embarrassing to anybody. It's only related to the scholars only scholars, nothing to do with this today conference. So I am once again grateful and thankful to Professor Raiji and the different social scientists from different disciplines, and we have made all the way from Andhra Pradesh to Calcutta, and it is a very interesting and very happy note that we could enjoy today and from yesterday also. Very nice arrangements, very good, everything they took care, and his team is so excellent. And I personally invite you to Tirupati, because I'm living in Tirupati, and my PhD is on Tirumala temple also, on the likes of course LP Vidyarthi. So I'm personally inviting, apart from the president of the AAPFH, I'm Professor Narayan Reddy, Professor of Anthropology, Venkatesh University Tirupati, and founder registrar. Now I am in the government, working with the commission on higher education. There is a commission which one of the salient features of NEP. Each state should have 2 commissions, one for regulated monitoring commission for school education and one for higher education. So I am working with the school education, and the chairman is the High Court judge, and we have 4 members in the commission. All 3 are IAS and myself only academic. So we will be moving around the entire state, looking after the state and all things. So once again, I am very much thankful and grateful to each and everybody, particularly Professor Raiji. Thank you.
We'll go for the tea, and those who want to collect the certificate, it's ready. You can collect from contact Shubhra and Saurabh for your certificates.
Please come and join us.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
I need to upload a YouTube channel, not a YouTube channel. All these videos, take from YouTube.
I will also follow that.
Yeah, yeah.
Please can you take
How are you? I missed all of this. I got stuck on the. Are you inspired by the vision? Do you want to partner with us? Are you inspired by the vision I share?
Of course. This is the high time where we should work on pollution.
Yeah.
So,
No, academics are fully divert, they're irresponsible. They're only working for their degrees and jobs, uncomfortable jobs.
yes. Which is why we are looking for. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So we also want to come up with some special courses where this document is making documents
Yes.
on the local problems
Yes.
and small.
That
brief
that
video.
would be very much helpful for the others to understand that. Yeah. It is very helpful. What is like, is there any office or where is it located?
In Hyderabad, our office is located in Hyderabad. The address is there in the card.
Hyderabad.
That's true.
Charge for মোবাইল টাকে একদম চার্জ নেই এইগুলো লস করে একটা আমার আসার সময় ব্যাটারি ছিল এটা রেখে রেখে আরে রুমে আসতে চলো
সবাই লিখে আছে মোবাইল
তারিখে এসছি না, 21 তারিখ হচ্ছে 10 তারিখ।
ঠিক আছে ঠিকঠাক এই যে কি গন্ডগোল হয়েছে এত হুড়োহুড়ি করলে হয় কি বলছেন ভালো হয় Thank you.